In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. All praise and thanks are due to Allah, and peace and blessings be upon His Messenger. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Some Muslims, due to lack of knowledge, do not understand the difference between Allah's mercy and His anger. They think that Allah is only merciful, and they continue to live a sinful life, reminding themselves that no matter what they do, Allah will definitely forgive them. On the other hand, some will fear Allah so much that they lose all hope that Allah will ever forgive them. Please listen to this hadith to understand. It is narrated from Abu Huraira, may Allah be pleased with him, that the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, Allah has 100 parts of mercy, of which He sent down only one part between the jinns, the mankind, the animals, and the insect, by means of which they are compassionate and merciful to one another, and by means of which wild animals are kind to their offspring. And Allah has kept back 99 parts of mercy with which to be merciful to His slaves on the Day of Judgment. In another hadith narrated by Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, he said, once some prisoners of war were brought before the Prophet, peace be upon him. One of them was a mother whose child had been lost. This has made her so restless that she would hold any child she came across close to her chest and suckle it. When Prophet, peace be upon him, said this, he, peace be upon him, asked the people around, can you imagine that this woman can ever throw her own child into the fire? The people replied, never. She will never do it. Rather, she will do everything possible to prevent her child from falling into the fire. Then the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, Allah is much more merciful to His servants than this mother is to her child. From these two hadith, some people may say, here is the proof that Allah is the most merciful. So no matter what we do, He will forgive us. But they don't know that Allah is also all just. That is why He has created heaven and hell, so that He will reward those who are sincerely following His commandments and to punish those who are not. We humans want justice in this world, don't we? So why we don't expect this from Allah, to reward good and punish evil? Now let's try to understand this. History will prove that there are millions of people whose lives have been destroyed because of the evil actions of the few. And these few had so much power and authority that they got away from it. They were never punished. These evil people think that this is the only life they have and they can do whatever they want to do to satisfy their desire of wealth, power, greed, etc. But they don't believe that there is another life after this life, where all accounts will be settled by Allah in the most just way. Remember, Shaitan will make you think that don't worry, Allah will forgive you, just keep on committing sin. But on the Day of Judgment, Shaitan will be laughing at you and will deny, saying that he only whispered you to do sin, but you were the one who actually did it. On the Day of Judgment, we will say, I wish I would not have committed that sin. Since we cannot rewind our lives, but now, while we are alive, we can do 4 things before we leave this world. Number 1 is to feel remorse about our sin. Number 2, ask Allah to forgive us. Number 3, we should not do that sin again. And last, we should do any good deed to offset that sin. Remember, no good deed alone will take us to Jannah except by Allah's mercy. My brothers and sisters, I ask you and myself to examine our lives and see what sin we are committing and take the 4 steps I just mentioned. Please never lose hope in Allah's mercy. Allah's mercy always supersedes His anger, but it does not mean that we intentionally keep on committing sins and hope that Allah will always forgive. Please develop fear of Allah. Know that Allah is watching you in public and in private. When you want to do something, stop for a second and ask yourself, will this make me go to heaven or hell? Am I pleasing Allah or displeasing Him? Keep your iman in between fear and hope. When you fear too much that Allah will not forgive, remain hopeful that He will. And you are too hopeful that whatever you do, Allah will forgive you, then fear Allah that He also punish. Finally, I ask you to please acquire authentic Islamic knowledge from the Quran and the Sunnah and practice that knowledge, and ask Allah to make you His obedient servant. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.